the same sin. Right? Someone comes to you, most of us are willing to forgive, right? But what if they repeat the same thing that same day? Are you trying to use me here? You're trying to take it, okay, I forgive you. I want to remind you, it's twice. They do it 3 times? Is anybody stupid enough that you'd be willing to forgive 3 times? Somebody the same sin, they rob from you, you catch them, they say sorry, you're obviously going to forgive them. 2nd time, the 3rd time, the 4th, Jesus says 5 times in one day. And what did the apostles cry out? Anybody know Luke 17? He said, increase our faith. How is that possible? How can we possibly do that? What's the parable that Jesus tells here in Matthew 18? It says there was a king who wanted to settle accounts, and somebody came to him and owed him how much? 10,000 talents. What does that mean? The closest thing we have, we don't have the extra money, but the closest thing is maybe wages for 10,000 years. A servant owes that to a king. I don't know how he owes that. Maybe he's got a gambling problem. I don't know. Somehow a servant owes wages for 10,000 years. Is that servant going to be able to pay back? Can a servant pay back wages for 10,000 years? Not a chance. Not a chance. Impossible. Impossible. There's absolutely no chance. And the king says, well, I'll give you what's fair. You need to be sold, your wife needs to be sold, your children need to be sold. It's not going to make you up for the debt, but at least it will give you some kind of sense of justice for the terrible, terrible debt that you owe me. And the servant says what? And you know what the servant says? It's almost laughable. What's the servant say? Just give me some time. Give me some mercy. I will work very hard to pay you back. And the king looks at that servant asking for time, asking for mercy. And if I give him time, can he pay me back? 10,000 years wages? Impossible. Impossible. So the king says what? I forgive you. 10,000 years wages, you don't owe me a thing. You're free. Free to go. And God says that is us. Has anybody ever had that feeling? Of being forgiven that much? 10,000 years wages. A debt you could never, ever, ever repay, no matter how hard you tried. You could never repay it. And God says, you realize how much you owe me. You deserve to be sold, and your wife sold, and your children sold, and tortured forever and ever. And I'm going to forgive you. I'm going to make it completely clean. And that man goes out and he finds somebody who owes him what? A few bucks, 100 denarii, 100 days' wages. Could the friend pay back 100 days' wages? Eventually, right? If he works extra hard, eventually. But this guy does what? He does the unthinkable. We all know mean people. Can you imagine someone so mean that after being forgiven 10,000 years wages would refuse to give some time, would give a little bit of mercy to someone who owes him something that he could pay back? The guy begs for time, says no. He throws him in prison. What's that mean? That wasn't very bright if he wants money back. Guy can't even work for money. He can only beg, right? Only beg from friends and from family. Please help me. I owe this debt, and this guy's not going to let me out of prison until I pay it. Can you imagine? What is the only conclusion we can come to? And that the king came to. If someone forgiven of that much refuses to forgive somebody who owes him that much, what's the only conclusion we come to? That person did not fully accept or fully understand and never took to his heart the huge forgiveness he was offered. So the king even said, what? You don't deserve that forgiveness I put before you. I'm going to take it back. You don't deserve it. And I'm not going to get into the theological ramifications of if you can lose your salvation or what with that. We won't worry about that today. But the big point is what? Is that that person didn't deserve to be forgiven. And he did. He was offered